got a shot.
Ladies and gentlemen, it was let's call it a tumultuous week one. If you played our flex plays, which were filthy, which were nasty, we hit. If you played your starters, like we tell you to do every single week, you're probably singing the blues. I got Brandon Adam. I got Mike Dickinson. We are, of course, the DFS Army Fantasy Football Show. I'm your host, Flex Shane. Boys, Brandon, it's been a hot minute. We actually, Greg, man, listen, okay. I never do this. I got to shout out Flex Matt. He was roasting me every day. Puka Nakua in our rookie drafts way back in February. I said, Matt, you're crazy. Puka has a pretty solid Senior Bowl. I said, Matt, you're crazy. This guy ain't going to be a thing. I don't know if he's going to be a thing, but he got 15 targets last week. He was a thing last week. And guess what? You know what makes me disgusted? Matt actually guaranteed it. He literally stamped it, guaranteed the Puka Nakua week last week. So we got to take our wins, I guess, right? What's going on, Brandon? You're coming back from Tokyo.
Yeah. Just, getting back into the swing of things here in the States. A little tired there, dragging when I got back. But yeah, I'm ready to go. I was so sad. I was literally I was cruising the streets of Tokyo when you guys were doing your podcast last week. I was jumping in, listening here and there. But yeah, it was quite a good time.
The crude guy on me would say you were rolling through Tokyo. Is that what you were about to say?
I was rolling through Tokyo. Yeah.
There you go, baby. There we go. What's going on, Mikey? How are you doing today, brother?
Good. Ready for week two. Ready to lick my wounds, take my L's from week one, and just push on to week two.
Okay, so guys, this is, and maybe this is going to be a question for Brandon, but one of the things we talk about throughout the entire offseason is, okay, this training camp buzz. You got to be careful what you see. You got to be careful what you believe. We got 1 week of data now, Brandon. How much are we going to take from week one? Like, are the New York Giants as bad as we thought they were, for example?
No, I think it's overreaction. Everybody's thinking they won championships because they had a smash week, or all the Justin Fields owners are throwing stuff at their TV because guys still can't throw the football. I think it's just early season blues. Like you said, week one, week two is like an extension of the preseason nowadays in the new NFL. I think a lot of teams are still working out the kinks. The Bengals last week fell on their face. That won't happen again. That happened last year, and look what happened. They made a deep run, and your Bengals did great. I think it's overreaction time. It's fun, but it's kind of annoying at the same time.
Oh, yeah, of course I'm on mute. We got our girl Jen in the chat. We got our guy Flex Matt going on in the chat. It's going to be another interesting one, right? Like, so we were going through our flex plays, which of course is what we're going to be talking about today. And I got to admit, man, like for a bunch of mine, I had to plug my damn nose. Yeah. But sometimes you got to just follow that drum beat. We talk about it all the time. Follow that drum beat, follow the targets. And sometimes you got to throw a little bit of common sense in there. Mike, before we get into the flex plays, I think we got to talk a little bit about what we have in terms of an outlook for the Jets. I mean, Garrett Wilson was a player that we were super high on in the season. Where are we at on him right now? Like, I've heard some people are saying he's like a fringe wide receiver 2 at this point because of when you look at the splits last year with Zach Wilson. Is that real? Or can we actually believe that Zach Wilson took a bit of a step forward and you can still confidently play Garrett Wilson every single week?
I think that we're going to see a different Zach Wilson than we saw last year. I think that if you watched Hard Knocks at all, you saw how open Wilson was to Rodgers' tutelage, and it sounds like Rodgers is going to stay as present around that facility as he can. So I think that you're going to see him on the sideline with a headset on in Zach Wilson's ear for the remainder of the season. So I think that, when you look at that, and honestly, with Breece Hall looked better than I thought he was going to look. Quite honestly, he was on a pitch count, but it was still a split. It's still going to be a split backfield. They got Dalvin Cook in there. Their defense is really, really good. So you can't. They're going to keep them in games. I mean, they won games last year. Wilson was decent last year. Both Garrett Wilson was decent last year. Zach Wilson is going to take a step forward. He seems like he's a bit more mature than he was last year. He seems like he's in an overall better spot. And then you look at what Nathaniel Hackett did when he was the OC in Green Bay, I mean, that entire offense funneled through. It was two backs, and it funneled through Devontae Adams. So I don't see any reason why the offense isn't going to funnel through Garrett Wilson again. They're going to run their two backs. The Breece Hall is the AJ Dillon with a more dynamic skill set. Dalvin Cook plays the Aaron Jones role, and I think that it's going to be plug and play. I mean, the problem is you drafted Garrett Wilson to be your wide receiver one, probably, unless you were like at the back end, like unless you were like 7, 8, 9, and you took a flyer on Amon-Ra and then came back with Garrett Wilson. But in that situation, I think you still feel fine. And honestly, I have him as a wide receiver one a handful of places, and I feel fine about it. Like, he's going to get his targets, he's going to get his looks, and the guy is fucking good with the ball in his hands. So like, I'm not, if you got a chance to buy low on him, if some jamoke in your league throws out a kooky offer to you, I would take it. I'd snap him up because I think it's going to be a great season for him. He's not going to break out to the extent that we thought he was, or we hoped that he was going to. Like, we had the overall wide receiver one in his range of outcomes, and I think you got to back off that a little bit. But he's still like mid-tier to back end wide receiver one.
Yeah, dude. He's not going to be the top 5 upside is gone. That will never come back this season. That will be gone. I still think he's a low end wide receiver one. I think he's around wide receiver 11 to 14. I think that's around where he is going to be going. Like you said, volume is going to go through him. If they don't give that kid double digits targets every game, then I don't know what they're doing. Like, then they're, they're not trying to win. So
it's
right
so
there.
frustrating sometimes. Like these game plans, they try to overcomplicate shit. Like, you saw that catch with Garrett Wilson. He was completely covered in the end zone. Just throw the damn ball to Garrett Wilson. He's going to make a play on the ball. Like, he is, in my humble opinion, a top 3 wide receiver in terms of talent in the league right now. Top 3, I said it. So, top 5. There's a bunch of good guys. Top 5 definitive wide receiver in the league. Here's the thing that kind of scares me a little bit here. All right, boys, especially, if you've got your Garrett Wilsons on your team, you got your Breece Hall, there's no way you're sitting Breece Hall. Vegas, they're saying maybe you should, I'm not saying this is not Shane, this is Vegas. So Vegas, maybe smarter than Shane. 14.75 point implied team total this week for the Jets going up against that ferocious Dallas defense. It worries me a little bit, but I'm firing up my Breece Hall. I'm firing up my Garrett Wilson. And I'm praying that Zach gets some damn ball. Woo! All right, Cade. Because you're new to the show, we're going to hit you up with a question here, and then we're going to get into our flex plays, boys. Okay. It says, show, thank you for joining. Who should have started to flex in a PPR league? We got Gus Edwards, Raheem Mostert, Nico Collins, or Jahan Dotson. I think I know the answer here, but Mike, who do you think out of this bunch? Full PPR.
At full PPR, I'm taking Jahan Dotson.
Mike or Brendan?
It's Dotson or Nico to me. It's Dotson. I like Dotson.
For me, it's Dotson and then Edwards behind him. CJ Stroud is questionable. He popped up on the injury report yesterday. He might not even play this week.
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that definitely changes the calculus. Assuming Stroud does play, I'm still going to lean Jahan Dotson here, followed by Nico Collins. But if he doesn't, then Nico, well, listen, spoiler alert, I'm going to be talking about Nico as one of my flex plays this week. It's all going to be contingent on health. That's a little bit scary. But you know what? That's actually a good segue to talk about our injuries that we got to be aware of this week. So Austin Eckler, he's doubtful with the ankle. Chances are he's not going to be playing, right? Josh Kelly, wheels up. Jacoby Myers, looks like he's been ruled out with concussion. Deontay Johnson's going to miss potentially up to 4 weeks with the injury, with the hamstring injury. Mark Andrews, guess what? Mark Andrews was a full participant on Friday. He's back, baby. He's back. Be cautious for all you Zay Flowers managers out there. Aaron Jones, he has a hamstring injury. Didn't practice all week. It's looking like he's not going to play, hence why A.J. Dillon is in the conversation. Brandon Cooks, MCL sprain for his knee. He's questionable. Jerry Jones is optimistic, but I'm not optimistic. Puka Nacua, the hero of week 1, he's got the oblique injury. He's expected to play. So I wouldn't worry too much about that, but he's going up against San Fran. That worries me a little bit. DeAndre Hopkins. Oh my God. We saw the body language last week. That wasn't great. Got the ankle injury. He didn't practice all week.
Not good.
Maybe Treylon Burks. And then, of course, Devonta Parker. The only reason I mention him as it pertains to a guy like a Kendrick Bourne, he didn't practice again all week. I wouldn't bank on him playing. which is disgusting. Yeah, Jen. So Mark Andrews is still questionable, but he was a full participant in practice Friday. I would be shocked unless he has some sort of a setback in warmups. I would be absolutely shocked if he didn't get to it. Just again, an overarching theme here that I like to highlight at the start of the show. If you're looking at flex plays, these are some of the games you want to be targeting, okay? These are the high-scoring projected games. We got Kansas City at Jacksonville as over under 51 points. You got Seattle at Detroit. Kind of like that one as a sneaky one, 47 points. Las Vegas at Buffalo projected at 47 points. And then Baltimore at Cincinnati at 46.5 points. So those are the teams we're going to want to be targeting. Y'all ready to get some nasty, filthy, disgusting flex plays? Let's go.
He's my best friend. He's my pal. He's my homeboy, my rotten soldier. He's my sweet cheese, my good time boy.
Baby, baby, baby. He's my sweet time boy. I love it. Okay, Brandon, listen. You missed last week. You've been chomping at the bit. Give me your first flex play on the week. Stamp it, baby.
My first play is going to be Mr. Zay Jones. Zay is going to be going out playing against Kansas City at home. I like the Jags to keep up with Kansas City and be able to shoot out with them. The target share for Zay Jones last week was 21.9. That's top 30 in the league. Christian Kirk disappeared off the map last week. I after looking deeper into it, I think Christian Kirk will continue to not be in the picture until probably next week. Zay Jones has a route participation of 100%. Number one in the league, so he's not coming off the field at all. He's going to get red zone targets. He had 2 last week. That's number 6 in the league. So he has a catchable target rate of 85.7. So T-Law's getting it to him on time in a good way in the red zone. I think he's going to be teed up to crush. His matchup is going to be against Joshua Williams. That he's got a plus matchup. That Joshua Williams isn't even a top 50 corner in the league right now. So you're going to be able to get a nice 21% target rate in a high projected game. And you're going to be able to, be able to sneak in backdoor with Zay Jones on here. And you don't need to have Etienne or Ridley to do it. So you can get yourself a piece of the Jags. That's what I would be doing with him.
Yeah, I think that's a cheap way to get a part of that game. And the key thing here, like if you look at last week in terms of just where Kansas City was allowing their fantasy points to wideouts, 86% of the fantasy points went to wideouts. And when you look at just last week, I mean, Calvin Ridley, he played out wide 67% of the time. Zay Jones, 76% of the time. And Christian Kirk was 100% in the slot.
Yeah.
So this looks like it's going to be, listen, I think it's probably going to be a Calvin Ridley game just in general. It's going to be a Calvin Ridley season. Brandon, yeah. I think you were the highest on Ridley out of all of us. And listen, there's still some skeptics out there saying, okay, but he looked good. He got the production, he got the volume, and he passed the eye test. I'm in on it, but Zay Jones, man, I think is pretty cheap. Mikey, you got anything to say about that?
No, I think that the one thing that I will say is Chris Jones is back this week for Kansas City. He was a holdout week 1, and I think that he is going to be out to prove why he should be paid as one of the top defensive linemen in the league. So I don't think Jacksonville's going to be able to do much running the ball. I don't expect much from ETN. Tank Bigsby still looked like the game was a little bit too much for him. I do not expect much from the Jacksonville running game. I think it's all going to be on Lawrence and the 2 perimeter wide receivers.
100% agree. Ridley season is in full effect. It's awesome. Mike and I were touting him for a while. I think it was June when we were like touting him to go get him in best ball. So I'm glad everybody listened. I hope people listened, and now you're going to get yourself a top 8 wide receiver in the league. It's crazy.
If you could redraft today, like this is one of the questions Alan Slazowski likes to ask a lot of the time. And usually you like to look at a few weeks in. But if we were going to do a redraft today, is Calvin really a borderline first round pick?
Almost.
I'd say so, right?
Like right where Garrett Wilson was going.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think you swap him in for Wilson.
Yeah, pretty much. That's right where I would do it.
Let's go, Jen. Your team is sick. Let's just call it what it is, because of course she was using our tools. And listen, a little bit of help from Flex Math, but let's go with that. Okay, Mike, give me your first flex play of the week.
All right, so my first flex play of the week is going to be Tyler Lockett. So he did absolutely squadoosh for you last week.
Squadoosh.
What?
That's the official term, right? Squadoosh.
Squadoosh, yeah, Squadoosh. He was wide receiver 87 last week. 3 fantasy points, 2 catches on 4 targets for 10 yards. Played 88% of the snaps. Historically, when you look at what Tyler Lockett has done, he's put up over the last 2 seasons, he's put up single-digit fantasy points 9 times. 7 of those 9 times, he's bounced back for double-digit points the next week. And historically, some of his bigger weeks are after his slower weeks. I think that with the injury to the offensive line that Seattle sustained, I know they signed Jason Peters, but he's 41 years old. I think you're going to see a lot of 11 or a lot of 12 and a lot of 21 personnel coming out of Seattle, which means that it's going to be Lockett and DK on the field. JSN still recovering from that hand injury. So I think you're going to see a lot of Lockett. I think we see Lockett get loose for one this week. They're playing against Detroit. I think Detroit is an extremely high-powered offense, and Seattle's going to have to throw to keep up with them, which means that you're going to see a lot of volume to Lockett. You're going to see a lot of volume to DK, and I think it's where you drafted Lockett. He was firmly in your flex wide receiver 3 conversation, so he might be ranked a little bit higher. Some of the ranking sites might have him pushed up into the top 24, but I think based off of where you built your roster, he's probably in that wide receiver 3. You probably drafted him to be a wide receiver 3 week in, week out flex play, and I love him this week.
Let's just call it what it is, Shane. You call me the biggest line pusher in the business. That is a line push. I love it.
Line push.
I love it.
Listen.
I wanted to talk. I'm all for Tyler Lockett talk, so let's do it. That's funny.
Here's the thing, though, right? And this is something that we talk about this is like an off-season conversation, right? It's like, okay, start your studs. And the question is does Tyler Lockett classify as one of those guys where in 1 week he puts up 3 fantasy points? Is he going to be an automatic start next week? The answer is not always yes, right? It's not always yes for a player like Tyler Lockett, especially because we love JSN. But to your point, I think he's still dealing with that wrist injury, despite the fact that he was more productive last week. The thing that is just like was so disappointing, like Seattle just didn't look sharp last week. You look at their snaps per game so far, they were literally dead freaking last in terms of snaps per game last week with 46 snaps. So they were a slow team, and you don't like that, right? We want fast pace of play for our fantasy teams, right? We want more opportunities to score those fantasy points. I will say, though, it's going to be a week this week. They still have a 21.5 implied team total going up against Detroit. Detroit knows how to put up points. They got the momentum coming from a big win from last week. They want to keep up the momentum. I think it's a solid play. But Brandon, to answer my question, is Tyler Lockett an every week starter, or is he in a conversation every week with start-sit decisions?
I think it just depends on your roster, league size and roster size. But yeah, I think in normal leagues, he is a week to week kind of guy. But in our leagues that we start, 3 wide receivers, 2 flexes, just completely maniacal. He's every week you leave him locked and loaded and you just take what you get from him. But it's just what it is. Tyler Lockett has always been a boom bust guy. You want him, like that when you draft him, you understand that. Unfortunately, last week, Seattle, they had a lot of injuries on the O-line. They have key injuries to the tackle positions. They just signed Jason Peters this week, so maybe the veteran can come in and step in and help out and balance that out a little bit. But, man, I'm worried. Aiden Hutchinson is going to maul Geno Smith. I'm worried about Geno Smith's health for this week because the Lions are going to be so fired up at home for this big game. They're looking to go 2-0 after beating the champs. So I don't know. I'm worried about it, but Lockett is a play for me this week. 100%. I'm starting my Seahawks. Even Ken Walker, I'm starting him because if you actually look at what happened with Ken Walker, even though he did nothing with them, but he got 5 targets last week in the pass game. He got 5. So they are keeping him in on third down pass plays. So that is a big deal. That was a big narrative going into the season about Zach Charbonnet and Ken Walker. and it looked like they were keeping Ken Walker in. So Ken Walker is still a play for me this week, even with a banged up O-line.
Yeah, when you look at target share, 20.83% to Ken Walker, 16.67% last week to Tyler Lockett. Rough.
Yeah.
Well, so here's the thing. Lockett got pulled from the game to get checked for concussion. He ultimately got cleared, but he missed a chunk of time.
He always clear in Seattle.
Yeah.
Always clear in Seattle.
Exactly. Yeah. There ain't no such thing as concussions. Oh, baby. Okay. Yeah, you guys ready to just be disgusted and walk off the show right now? Because I got my first flex play on the week, and this one was a little bit surprising to me. Listen, like you can call it a homer pick. You can call it a wishing what could be, visualization, just visualize what could be. I think it's going to be a decent week for Kendrick Bourne this week going up against Miami. Listen, we saw the shootout that was against the Chargers last week. It was fun. It was exciting. And what was really interesting is that the Pats actually ranked. Now, this was the most shocking stat to me of the week.
Yeah.
They ranked number 1 in pace of play. They averaged 2.69 plays per minute last week. And listen, Mike, I know you're a Philadelphia fan. I get that Philly was up pretty much that entire game. So they had to try to throw. But Mac Jones had 54 pass attempts last week, which ranked number 1. They were number 1 in pace of play, like I said. And Kendrick Bourne, he was on 91% of the snap share, and he had 11 targets from Mac Jones. Okay. People are saying, okay, that's because Devonta Parker was out. Devonta Parker is a scrub. He's just a guy, right? I was somewhat bullish on Juju Smith-Schuster this year. Just you'd think that from a volume perspective, he was going to get it. He didn't see it last week. And a lot of beat reporters that are around the team are basically saying like Juju's like the 4th or the 5th best wide receiver on this team. It's Demario Douglas, it's Kendrick Bourne, and then maybe Juju Smith-Schuster at number 3 at best. Could you say that Kayshon Boutte's ahead of him in the depth chart? Like, it doesn't look good. It does not look good. But here's the thing. If the Patriots are going to have any chance whatsoever, they're going to have to throw the ball. Bill O'Brien showed just last week alone that he was okay giving the ball to Mac Jones and letting Mac try to win the game. And guess what? The Pats actually came back. They actually gave it a pretty gallant effort. By comparison, okay, 54 pass attempts. No, I don't think that Mac's going to throw 54 pass attempts every single week. The Patriots are not going to win that way, right? They win on defense. They win in the run game. I get it, okay? But compared to last season, he averaged 31 attempts per game, which was, call it middling, 16th, 17th in the league. We don't love that, right? So this week, Kendrick Bourne going up against Miami. Now, this is assuming that the Pats aren't just going to get stomped by Miami, but the fact that it's in New England, there could be some weather concerns. We were talking about Hurricane Lee, but that was supposed to hit today and yesterday. So hopefully the weather will start to be a little bit better tomorrow, but keep an eye on that. Assuming decent weather conditions on the New England coast there, Kendrick Bourne, fire it up, baby. Mike, roast me.
No, I actually like it. I do think that passing game and that entire offense looks a lot different under Bill O'Brien. It was going to look different. I mean, Matt Patricia is not an offensive coach. It was kind of embarrassing that Belichick let him do that the entire season last season. And as a Philly fan watching that game, I was kind of nervous. Like the Pats were in it the entire way. So you worry about the fact that Miami's going to come out running and gunning. They're going to be slinging it all around. You look at what they did against LA last week, but I think that New England proved that they can keep pace. So I think it's going to be another one. I think it's one where you look at the over. I think the strength of the New England team is in their run defense. So I'm out on Mostert and A-Chain this week. I think it's the Miami passing game again. And I think because Miami runs so quickly and has such a potent offense, I think that the New England passing game is in good shape this week. I'm contemplating starting Mac Jones over Daniel Jones in a super flex this week. Jones has Arizona. You wonder though, is it going to be a Saquon game? And you wonder how much Daniel Jones actually has to pass this week. That the Patriots are going to have to pass to keep pace with him. You also like the way that the tight ends looked last week. So I like it. I'm in on New England's offense this year. I like it.
Hey guys, I got a question for you with regards to the Miami team. You saw last week that it was pretty much a Tyreek Hill show. Right.
Oh my God.
A lot of overaction about Jalen Waddle and his lack of involvement in the game plan last week. Are we worried? Like we talked about Tyler Lockett as a plug and play. Like if you drafted Waddle probably as potentially as wide receiver 1, right? He was going in late round 2. Like you're starting that guy.
Yeah, that's why I have very little Waddle because I thought he was going entirely too high in redraft this year. But I love the talent. He was suffering from an oblique injury throughout the whole training camp. Those core injuries take a while to heal, and you're talking about a fast twitch player where there is so much force going on in that body when he's running. So he's probably still feeling it a little bit. So I could see him getting a little bit of a slow start. And when you got Tyreek Hill just buzzing like that, Tua's not going to change. Like he's just going to throw it to the guy that's just buzzing. So I think Waddle's slow start was pretty easy to see coming because of the injury issues. Same thing with Joe Burrow. That's why I was nervous about Joe Burrow coming out hot because he was sat down pretty much the whole training camp. So he's not in shape. He's not in game speed yet. So I totally see that. But Waddle, if you drafted him, you better just keep him in there because he is just that kind of a talent that all he needs is one play. So just keep him.
Last week, Tyreek Hill had a 35.7% target share. That's we talk about like 27, 28 to 30% as an elite target share. 35% is monstrous.
That's not going to be sustainable.
No,
it's not going to be sustainable. But I really think Waddle has some injury stuff going on still. And we both know Mike McDaniel doesn't give a shit about injuries after the whole Tua thing last year. So he's going to throw his ass out there no matter what. It's just that's just how it is, man. NFL football, baby. You strap up. That's what it is.
NFL football, baby. Brandon, give me your second flex play, baby.
My second flex play is our baby boy, Jahan Dotson with the Washington Commanders. I think this guy is set to explode. Terry McLaurin is going to be very busy with Patrick Surtain in Denver. Patrick Surtain is going to be all over Terry McLaurin. I think the fact that Jahan Dotson is Jahan last week was operating 42.9% of the time wide, and was operating 57% of the time in the slot. So him being able to go in and out of the formation is going to be able to get him freed up in some key situations, especially in the red zone, where we know Jahan Dotson is elite at catching the football. In that red zone, he is an end zone dog. He will get the looks. He had last week. He had 7 targets for 5 catches. I think that is going to be somewhat similar, if not more, this week. I just feel like they're going to be leaning on him and actually Mr. Thomas at tight end position a little bit more than Terry McLaurin. Terry McLaurin is going to get skunked. Don't start Terry McLaurin. Bench Terry McLaurin.
Jesus. You know, it's funny. Like pretty much every dynasty league I'm in, if I don't have Terry McLaurin, like he's on the block. People are trying to sell Terry McLaurin because Jahan Dotson, like he looks like he's the guy. Just last week, 24% target share versus Terry McLaurin's 13.8. Call it. I think I'm not quite as negative feeling about TMC, but I do like the fact that Jahan Dotson showed some clear chemistry with Sam Howell. And listen, shout out to Sam Howell, man. Like he actually looked pretty decent last week. I think we can all agree.
We've been on the train. We've been on the train for a while. Sam Howell was a good prospect coming out of North Carolina. He just had a bad year and he plummeted in draft capital. Like it was just crazy. He was supposed to go in the first round the year before he actually did come out. He has a big arm, can run, can do it all. But like you said, like everybody was trying to tell me, Terry McLaurin, turf toe, it's a problem. It's a problem. Yep. It's going to be a problem. He's out there just to actually, help out by just running routes to create matchups. But it's clear as day to me that he's not going to be right for at least a couple more weeks.
I hate to say it, but listen, if we're lucky, right? Turf toe is one of those things that could literally linger the entire season.
Yeah.
Mike, you had a bold call last week and you had Brian Robinson, and that was a smash. Right, you nailed that one. Is Antonio Gibson dead? Like, is he unstartable?
I said before the year, you play Antonio Gibson when they are dogs. Okay, when they are behind in game script, that's when you start Antonio Gibson. Period.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing about Antonio Gibson. Okay, he had the fumble early last week. Again, one of the things that plagued him 2 seasons ago was the freaking fumbles. He slowly regained back the coaching staff trust last season, and then freaking first game fumble. Like, you got to secure the damn ball. Josh Allen.
They should trade him. They should trade him to Indy so they can trade fucking JT to somebody else.
Agreed.
Like Antonio Gibson needs to go somewhere else. Ron Rivera is going to keep him in the doghouse forever. It's just, I think there's something going on where, like you said, where the fumbles are just a problem. And even though he was a touchdown scorer his rookie year, he killed it his rookie year. He just never has gotten the same kind of conviction out of the coaching staff ever.
He hates Antonio Gibson almost as much as Sean McVay hates Cam Akers.
Yeah.
That's deep-seated hate, baby.
That's hate. Yeah, that's true. It's true. I agree.
All right, Mike, make us a little happy here. Give us a second flex play, please.
Well, I don't know that this will make anybody happy, but my next one is it's a combination. You probably don't have both, but you could probably start either one. I'm talking the number 2 receiver in New Orleans. So we're going either Rashid Shaheed or Michael Thomas. For me personally, it's Rashid Shaheed. I went out in a bunch of my leagues last week when everybody was blowing their fab wad on Puka Nacua. I threw a couple bucks at Rashid Shaheed, picked him up. Actually, the only places I didn't pick him up was where Brandon outbid me, motherfucker. But I liked what I saw out of that. He played more than half the snaps. I'm sure you saw the video going around where at the end of the game, when they needed to win, Derek Carr had confidence and he had faith in him.
Yes.
You also look at this matchup this week. Chris Olave is the uncontested number 1 wide receiver in that offense. So this isn't Shaheed's going to outproduce Olave. Olave is the man. He's supplanted Michael Thomas. He's the stud. But when you look at what's going on in Carolina, J.C. Horn just went on IR. So Carolina's defensive backfield is not in good shape. So you look at that combined with the opportunity. Shaheed caught 5 or 6 targets last week, 89 yards and a touchdown. Wide receiver 12. And I'm not saying he's going to be a wide receiver 1 this week, but when you're talking about guys that you can get into your lineup, guys that are inexpensive to acquire, guys that are on the back end of your bench that you're thinking about putting in there, and what their range of we know what his range of outcomes is. He can be a wide receiver 1. Jamal Williams didn't look great last week. He might look better this week. Carolina's defensive line he's a plotter. Yeah. I mean, he was in a great situation last year in Detroit, and I think people thought that was going to translate over. And I was one of them. I thought that he was going to get the workload. He was going to look great, and he just didn't. So Derek Carr looked like what we thought Derek Carr was going to be in New Orleans. And give me, as somebody who's like a wide receiver 4 in your lineups, give me Shaheed. Absolutely.
Great upside with that pick. I love the way that guy runs routes. He's electric. The guy is electric. You can see he is so fast on the turf. He just run. The guy can just move. And like you said, if Horn is out, oh my God.
Horn's on IR. He's out.
Olave is a smash in DFS. If Horn is out, Olave is a smash. And if you want to get contrarian about it and Olave doesn't produce, it's Shaheed, and he's going to get deep targets. I like it. I like that a lot, Mike.
Does it worry you at all, just his overall usage versus the other wideouts there? So Chris Olave, aforementioned, he had a snap percentage of 78% last week. Michael Thomas was at 80%, leading the wide receivers. Rashid Shaheed was only on for half the time, 53.85% of the snaps last week. Are we worried about that?
Not yet. That's a typical rookie snap share week 1, right? And what did he do? He produced. He had trust with Carr. Carr's going to tell the coaching staff, hey man, let's bump it. Let's get him out on the field a little bit more. He's going to start getting at that staff. Tell him, keep him on the field. What are we doing here? And why are we throwing any balls towards Michael Thomas? The guy's ancient. Like, I don't understand why they would even throw, 6-7 targets at Mike Thomas, when you got explosive rookie like Shaheed and you got Olave.
Not a rookie, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, last 5 games of 2022, 3 of the last 5, Shaheed was wide receiver 36 or better. So he did it last year in a worse quarterback play. So I feel great about him.
Yeah,
and then just to put a bow on that, gentleman. So Rashid Shaheed, like I said, 53.85% of the time of snap shares. But when you look at his actual target share overall for the game, he was at 18.18%, right? So which means that when he was actually on the field, he was garnering targets. I would I would believe that Michael Thomas is going to get booted as a wide receiver 3. It's going to be Olave, it's going to be Rashid, and then it's going to be Michael Thomas. I could see, like, I don't understand why they're not playing Thomas more out of the slot. Like, to me, that seems like a natural fit for his skill set, doesn't it? At this stage of his career, he only played 32% in the slot last week.
Yeah, I get it. The big body inside, that makes sense. Kind of.
He's not quick.
I think as the season progresses, Thomas's role is going to diminish, and I think the young guns are going to be the guys. It's just, I don't see why they would lean on Thomas like that. I get they're paying him a shit ton of money, and they paid him stupid money for years now. I don't know. I'm not a big Thomas guy. I'm with Mike on it. He's dust.
Got to get that ROI, baby. Got to get that 80% snap share. All right, guys. So I'm trying to decide if I want to get nasty and stinky or if I want to be a little. No, listen. I already gave you nasty, stinky one. I'm going to be a little bit more chalky with this play, and again, because listen, I'm a coward. This is all going to be contingent on Aaron Jones missing time. It's got to be AJ Dillon, right? Going up against Atlanta. The problem is it's going to be I think this week it's going to be 2 run-first teams. Yes, I know last week Green Bay was throwing the ball, but AJ Dillon, again, if Jones sit. Last week we actually saw a pretty even split. Jones had 46% of the snap share. AJ Dillon was 48%. But behind AJ Dillon, man, like there's absolutely nothing in that depth chart. So I could see easily upwards of 70, 75%, maybe 80% snap share. He's going to get the red zone touches. I'm pretty confident that they should be able to move the ball pretty well against Atlanta. So that's going to be an interesting one, but that could also, like, that game could just be total, like that. Okay, so the over under on that one's 40. I could see them getting to like 32, 33 points. Like, do we believe that Jordan Love is the next Aaron Rodgers? Are we there yet? Because I'm not.
No, I'm not there. No, but he's definitely competent.
Yeah,
I think he once Christian Watson enters the chat with that team, the whole team's going to change. The whole team, like that, the way the guy is too explosive. He's a perfect skill set match with Love and a strong arm skill set. Even though I know Romeo Dubs is like Mike has been preaching this. Mike has been preaching. I think he's been listening to a little bit of Jeff Manns. Jeff Manns talked a little bit about Romeo Dubs and how he liked Romeo Dubs over Christian Watson. I think that's where you got that from, Mike. But it's what it is. But Romeo Dubs, I think, like Mike was saying early in this offseason, he has a role. He has the chemistry. This whole we haven't seen what this offense is going to do yet, but Jordan Love, like you said, it's going to be a stinky game. I can totally see the under hitting on that game.
Yeah, which means it's going to be a running game. It's going to be a run first game. Which, by the way, Tyler Algier, we were touting him. We thought he'd have a role. Congratulations, man, because he had a damn role. Yes, Brian, we're looking at you, but we were all on that same page. Okay, we all thought
baloney. I was the guy that brought him out of Brigham Young. I was the one that showed you Tyler Algier, the ex-linebacker with the 3-down skill set. I was the guy that told you about that kid.
Yeah,
but go ahead.
I'm just gonna tout it because I got a fair share of Tyler Algier in my best ball leagues. But okay, we got a question. We got super CMB challengers. All right, sit 1 PPR. Miles Sanders, David Montgomery, or Breece Hall. Miles Sanders, David Montgomery, or Breece Hall. Which one are you guys going to sit?
Miles
Sanders?
Yeah. I think keep it
PPR.
Real.
I think I'm going to sit Montgomery in PPR.
Yeah, I think I got to sit David Montgomery. I think that's going to be listen, Brandon, you're shaking your head. David Montgomery is going to be very, very touchdown dependent.
Oh, of course.
Of
course.
And that's the risk. Like Jahmyr Gibbs, like you were as bullish as anybody on Jahmyr Gibbs. If you just look at the game last week,
just watch the film,
watch the damn game.
Yeah.
Jahmyr Gibbs is going to get more work. That's going to eat into David Montgomery's market share. They could play the big bodied Montgomery in red zone situations.
Yes.
But Jahmyr Gibbs, he just opens up so many more opportunities in that run game and in that offense, right? I mean, like, how do you, why not play Jahmyr Gibbs out wide? Play Gibbs in the slot. I think we talked about this in the preseason, Brandon. You play Gibbs in the slot. You play Amon-Ra St. Brown outside. You play David Montgomery in the backfield.
Yeah.
You don't know who to guard.
Get all your best players out on the field at the same time.
Yeah.
Like,
so Yeah. So do we agree David Montgomery is the guy we're going to be sitting then?
No,
Yeah,
I'm
Sanders
never,
got 6 targets last week.
I'm never
Yeah,
going to be a Sanders guy, so I'm just going to.
Sanders was also the one who last season broke New Orleans' streak of not allowing 100 yards to a rusher. So New Orleans had gone, and this is part of this
Best line in football with Philly.
part of this is Philly's offensive line, but New Orleans had gone 48 straight games without allowing a 100-yard rusher, and Sanders was the one that broke that. I think he's the clear bell cow in Carolina. He's not coming off the field short of injury.
Yeah. Okay. So we're kind of split here, but 2 against 1.
2 against 1.
Mike and I are saying sit David Montgomery. Brandon's going to say sit Miles Sanders, but baby, you ain't sitting Breece Hall because he just needs 1 touch and he's taking it to the house.
God,
he looks so good. He looks good. Good. Okay. We got a DST question here, boys. Ooh. Here's the thing, guys. I'm down to now 1 league. We're almost there. Where I only have 1 league where I actually have to start a DST. But we got the Broncos, the Browns, the Giants, or the Bucks. Broncos, Browns, Giants, Bucks.
Give me the Browns.
Give me the Browns, yeah. And give me the Browns rest of season, too.
Yeah, dude, they are nasty. Myles Garrett looks like superhero. Like, I don't know what this guy is taking in the off seasons. This guy is just not a human. He's not a human. He's a bear. The guy's a bear. Like, I don't get how he can move like that. It's just wild to me.
Yeah, and the thing here too is that like it's the Browns at Pittsburgh. It's a Monday night game. It's one of the lower games on the slate with 38.5, and the Browns are flavored. No Deontay Johnson. Listen, congratulations, Kenny Pickett. You had a fantastic preseason. Welcome to the NFL, kid. It's going to look rough. I have to agree. Just general thoughts, like so the Giants, like their D is just trash, right? The reason you'd consider them is they're going up against Arizona, which is a middling team, so they would be in consideration. The Giants this week are going up. We just talked about the Giants. The Broncos this week are going up against Washington. Don't love that. And then the Bucks. I don't trust the Bucks defense. Period. So
I think Justin Fields is going to have a big game this week. I think Justin Fields. I think what's Carlton Davis is out for the Bucks secondary. So DJ Moore is going to get free this week and is actually going to have a good game. I think DJ Moore scores this week.
Oh yeah, DJ Moore's going to bounce back. Oh boy. Okay, so I think we're in consensus there. Like we're all going to lean to Browns. Yeah, and here's the thing, right? We talk about the Monday Night Hammer. I love any players in the Monday Night game. So if push comes to shove, let's just go with the Monday Night Hammer, baby, and get sick.
Yeah.
Okay.
Here's the other thing too, is if you're playing in a league and you're up going into Monday night and your opponent is done, you're up, just sit the defense. Don't run the risk of taking the negative points.
I think that's okay. If you're like maybe 1 point up, maybe you can sit your defense, but I am of the belief that at the end of the season, especially depending on the type of leagues you play, like those fantasy points scored are going to matter making the playoffs, right? Whether you're position 8 all the way down to position, all the way up to position 6, 7, right? Like making those playoffs, a couple points here and there makes a difference. And you're going to want to start that defense. So I get it, Mike, if you want to be conservative, but we play to win the game. And I'm always going to be playing that position. Yeah, exactly. All right. We got another question from Jen. She needs someone to plug in for Eckler. She's got Joshua Kelly or Roschon Johnson.
Roschon Johnson's coming, boys.
I would play Roschon.
Yeah.
But Joshua Kelly is going to be the lead back in that offense.
No,
guaranteed.
It's Joshua Kelly, but I'm just saying. Okay. Roschon Johnson is taking over that job by week 4 or 5.
Yeah. No, I agree, 100%. Khalil Herbert's just a dude, and yes, okay. The skeptics out there are going to say that Roschon got all of his production at the end of the game when the game was kind of out of touch at that point. Like it was over. I don't care. Roschon Johnson, he's a dog. But this week, Jen, I'm playing Joshua Kelly. Okay, we got another hot question coming in from James Walsh. Thanks for tuning in, James. I don't think we've seen your name around here before. Okay, so 2 wide receivers, 1 running back flex PPR. Okay, so we need 2 wide receivers, 1 RB, and a flex. Or is this just as I'm not really sure what the question is. This might just be okay, yeah. So he's got Chase Higgins, Zay Flowers, James Cook, Josh Kelly, Joe Mixon, Najee Harris. Okay, so who are we definitely starting? We're starting Chase. We're starting Higgins, right? Like I don't care
Yes.
about last week.
I don't think you can.
You don't think you can?
Why?
You start Chase and Higgins?
Yeah.
If one of them goes off, it negates the other. See, this is a tough roster construction.
If he has
You got
Joe,
you got Chase, Higgins, and you got Mixon all on the same team. That's
brutal.
tough.
That's
That's brutal. Yeah. So I think that you have to pivot, and you're gonna be guessing week in and week out. I think you got to go Chase. I mean, Higgins is ranked higher. I think you got to go Chase and Zay in your wide receiver spots, and then for your running back, you take Mixon, and then that leaves you your flex.
And then I would take James Cook over Harris. I would take Cook over. Yeah, I would take Cook over Higgins right now. I think in a flex.
Yeah, I think I would. And honestly, if you guess wrong and Higgins has a good week this week, I would look to ship Higgins. I would look to move him to get you a little bit out of the Cincinnati business. Not that we don't love Cincinnati as an offense, but anytime you have
Too many.
There's no way that if you start Chase, Higgins, and Mixon, all three of them are going to go off. It's impossible.
Yeah, you limit your upside. So maybe that's the play. Like here's the problem with selling any Cincinnati players at this point, though, right? Is that like this is the stone worst value you're going to get. This is not a good time to be.
Yeah, you got to wait for an eruption game for any of them. You're going to ship any of them. But
okay, so we're saying for sure. We're good. Oh, man, I have such a hard time sitting T. Higgins.
I know.
If we're going to be starting, but if we're going to be starting Joe Mixon, then it's Jamar Chase, it's Zay Flowers, it's Joe Mixon, and then we say James Cook in the flex. I'm probably going to lean Najee Harris in flex. No, actually, I'm going James Cook.
Najee playing Cleveland this week.
Looks so slow. It wasn't his foot is supposedly healed. Man, he doesn't look right. It just doesn't look right. Like compared to what he looked like his rookie year.
Buffalo's playing Vegas this week. I think that Cook's going to go off this week.
Oh, Cook is going to have. He was actually a flex play consideration for us pre-show. He's a must start for me. Like James Cook, he had 6 targets last game. Is that right, Shane? 6 targets.
I'd have to double check
I think he is the full blown runner for that team. They got to take some of the pressure off Josh Allen, guys. They got to do it somehow, some way. You can see Josh is just feeling all the pressure every single throw. He won't quit on any play. He needs to understand to get rid of the ball sometimes. It does nothing just to punt it downfield and turn it over. Like he just needs to stop doing that. A sack is okay sometimes.
Yeah. Okay. So I listen, James. This is tough because you actually have a lot of good players. I'm a little worried about the Zay Flowers usage. Definitively, he's going to be the number 1 wide receiver in that offense. But again, Mark Andrews, he's going to be playing tomorrow, so he's going to be the top pass catching back, the top target getter in that offense. But with your roster construction, you have to be a little bit conservative here. Unfortunately,
first and foremost, you need to listen to us before these drafts because we would never tell you to get all 3 of those Bengals. Like I'm all for stacking and whatnot, but man,
I hope Burrow is your quarterback.
I hope
Burrow is your
quarterback. I was about to say, yeah. Okay, we got another question from Jen. So here's just a generic question: are we sitting T. Higgins? To answer the question, Jen, no, we're not just going to generically sit T. Higgins. You're going to play him; he's your stud, okay? But she has start 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, and a flex. She's starting Ridley and Pollard for sure. Okay. So we need 1 more wide receiver, 1 more running back, and a flex between T. Higgins, Chris Godwin, Roshan, Zay Flowers, JSN, Jackson Smith, and Jigba. She also has Christian Watson, but he's questionable. So I'm not playing Christian Watson. I worry about these soft tissue type injuries. So I want to see it first. Maybe it could burn me. But for me, I'm leaning T. Higgins, even though we got 0 last week. And in the flex, probably Zay Flowers.
I'm going Godwin in the flex.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, I don't know. Baker last week, and I guess it's just
he didn't look bad.
He looked decent, but he definitely was favoring Mike Evans.
Yeah,
his first read was always
for that game. That's the thing. When you got 2 alphas like that, you're gonna like with T. Higgins and Chase, the same thing.
Yeah,
it's all matchup based, unless you're Chase, where you're always gonna get fed. Mike Evans is not Chase, so it's matchup.
Yeah. Okay, so we're saying Higgins as your wide receiver 2, playing Godwin in the flex, and then at running back, I'm not
only
sure if
got
you're asking
Roshan.
for a second one. It's just Roshan. I guess you're starting Roshan Johnson there, Jen. Okay. And James, don't worry. Ladies and gentlemen, James Walsh has Joe Burrow as his QB. So
That makes
congratulations.
sense.
You went
Thank
all
God.
in, which means,
Thank God.
yeah, last week you were hurting, brother. I get it. I actually, I've got a couple teams, well, dynasty teams with both Chase and T Higgins. And I was singing the blues last week for sure. Cup and I are for the rest of the season. How do we feel about Cooper Cup? Like, Mike, you're saying he's cooked, right?
He's been saying
Yeah.
it for a while.
Yep.
Brandon, where are you
I
on Cup?
think he's done.
Dude, I'm so mad I took him at the end of the first round in that one league we got. I'm so mad. I should have took anybody else. But Cup, I think the value will return when he gets traded next year or this offseason.
When he gets traded.
I think he's going to be traded. I think the Rams are going to be completely dismantled after this year. I think a win now team will go get Cooper Cup, and then his value will be back. But I'm just worried about him this whole year, man. Why bring him back if he's going to be getting all these soft tissue issues, and you got to go to specialists and all that stuff. But I mean, if he sits, let's say he's out till like week 6 and he's got a full month or so, then, I would be looking to kind of maybe trade for him as a hammer for late in the season, but that's about it. I don't know. I'm worried for Cup. I think
I'm worried for Cup too. Listen, when guys are old, like it's old, these old man injuries, right? We saw it with Mr. Rogers last week. He had the calf issues all preseason.
And it's not like he's a super athlete. You know what I mean? Like he was a route runner.
He's a technician.
He's a technician. He's not like some special athlete. So it's pretty kind
okay. Are you guys ready to make your money this week? We got a question coming in from Cruz Garcia. And this is a total coin toss. You got Puka Nacua, again, breakout star last week, rookie wide receiver, going up against San Francisco this week, which is rough, right? And then you got Elijah Moore Monday night going up against the Steelers. I still think Elijah Moore probably is the wide receiver 3 on that team right now. So we got to go. We got to go Puka, right?
No. I'm going away from it. I'm going Elijah Moore and play. The Browns on Monday night are going to absolutely smash the Steelers. It's going to be a coming out party for Watson. Everybody's going to be scoring in that game. Everybody's going
to. I'm a little bit worried about that, but I will say, if you looked at Amari Cooper last week, he didn't look great. Now, listen, if you watch Amari Cooper play, he never looks great. He kind of just manufactures his production somehow. He never looks explosive. Elijah Moore. So this is just for our matchup tool. Okay. So Elijah Moore, he is projection. This is a full PPR at about 8 PPR points, whereas Puka Nacua is projected for about 11 PPR points.
I don't think he's going to get nowhere near that.
It's close. Yeah.
He popped up on the injury report too. He's got no bleed.
Niners are going to absolutely cover
smother
him. Yeah, there's no way that kid is going to be able to get through 2 Niners to make it to 11. I just don't see it. And if he does, good on him. Like, that's amazing.
Yeah.
But
okay, so I'm going to say, listen, I would say it's a coin toss, right? This is a wide receiver 3 question. It's going to be a coin toss. Let's just go with the Monday Night Hammer, baby. Let's just look at the opportunity. I'm on board with the Elijah Moore Cruz. Go with Elijah Moore. And then we got Jen coming in hot here. Another question. Is she starting my sweet baby boy, the monster himself, Anthony Richardson, who, listen, he threw a hell of a lot more than we expected to him last week, or Jordan Love. It's A-Rich, right?
It's Richardson all the way.
Yeah. Love it.
Right?
Love it.
Yeah.
That's where I'm going. Absolutely.
I sat Cousins for him this week, so I need him to go off.
Oh, baby. Okay. We're going to will it into existence then. Okay. We got one last question. Then we're going to hit up our our quick hits, our shout out flex plays, and then we're going to get the hell out of here, boys, because we're pushing an hour. Okay. So she has it. You guys didn't advertise starting Kelly this week over Roshan, correct? I'm starting Kelly over Roshan. Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yep. Joshua Kelly can catch the football. He's got some explosiveness. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just based on the fact that Austin Eckler is going to miss time, you're looking at the for sure top running back in a pretty explosive offense where everybody's healthy right now versus somebody in a timeshare. We like Roshan. I think in 2 weeks, listen,
Dude,
in 2
Roshan.
weeks, look, if Josh Kelly was still the starter and Austin Eckler was missing some time, at that point when Roshan's got his more definitive role, right? There's not that veteran deference versus Khalil Herbert, who's, to me, he's just another guy. Roshan could be special in this league, but as of now, for week 2, we're starting Joshua Kelly.
Go trade for Roshan before the transition happens.
You might not need to trade for him. He might be out on the wire
He
still.
might be on the wire. Go find him any way you can. Just go stash him for week 4 and beyond.
Do it. Okay, Mike, give me a few of your shout out plays this week that we didn't talk about yet already.
Brandon Dotson was on there. He was one of them. Who else did I have? Oh, I had Zach Moss. I had Zach Moss, and I had Rashad White as my other two. Zach Moss, he's off the injury report. They're playing Houston this week. I know that Houston is a new look team under DeMeco Ryans, but I still think that I still think Zach Moss is going to be the lead ball carrier in that backfield. I think that the risk that you run with Zach Moss is that A-Rich vultures him at the end zone. You see what happened in Philadelphia. You see that Jalen Hurts is now the goal line back, and I think that A-Rich is in that same situation. But you also see like Swift put up numbers, so I think that the two can coexist. I think
career game, not just numbers. Career game.
Yeah, and the fact that they played Gainwell over him last week is just embarrassing. And they're probably going to play Gainwell over him again when Gainwell comes back next week. It's just befuddling. It's absolutely befuddling. But anyway, I think when you're looking at a flex position, I think you look at the floor that Moss gives you. I think that he's good for 9 to 11 points. So I think as a flex play, he works in there well. And then the other one that I like is Rashad White. They are going up against. I had it right
Chicago.
Here. They're going up against Chicago this week. So you look at what Aaron Jones did last week against Chicago, and I think that there's a similar range of outcomes for Rashad White. So give me those two guys in flex.
Yeah. Okay. So listen, just a quick comment on your Zach Moss take. You said the only risk is no. The only risk is that Zach Moss sucks. So I'm just gonna go and say it. But that's why he was your notable mention. Deion Jackson was a dud. We had another question in the chat from Jen just about if Aaron Jones sits, which I think he's going to, Jen, start Brian Robinson or Deion Jackson. It's Brian Robinson for sure, 10 times out of 10. Deion Jackson, now that Zach Moss is back, he's droppable as far as I'm concerned. Okay, Brandon, give me a few of you guys we didn't talk about.
Okay, man. This is where the tomatoes might get thrown at me. I'm going to dodge something right here. With D-Hop being out, somebody's got to catch the football for the Titans, right? And
Nick Westbrook-Ikine.
Stop it. And if you look at the matchups, Ikine has the worst matchup of all of them. Treylon Burks has the best. He's going to be going against Asante Samuel Jr., which can't stop a nosebleed. He gives up 9.5 fantasy points per game. The J.C. Jackson is another guy that possibly will get some time on Treylon Burks, and he gave up a whopping 14.3 fantasy points allowed per game. So if you have any player pass catchers playing against the Chargers, you start them no matter what, locked and loaded. Ikine, he just doesn't have the matchup I would want to attack in this game. So I like Treylon Burks this week, and I also like. You're going to another gasp. Gabriel Davis, man. Gabriel Davis has one of the best matchups this week with going against a guy that's not even ranked within the top 50. Okay. So Gabriel Davis, if they're going to play a matchup game, I think could possibly have a nice breakout game this week with Allen. And I think what the coaches are going to try and tell Allen this week is that you can't just throw it to Diggs every single time. You got to move the ball around because they're becoming stagnant. They are becoming predictable, and they need to spread the ball around. And if they do that, Gabriel Davis has a phenomenal matchup this week. So I like Gabe Davis this week as another guy to attack for any kind of flex play.
Another risk there. I'm not sure Gabriel Davis is actually any good, but I think it's pretty reasonable. Real quick, some of my fast hitters. I like James Cook this week. He seemed pretty chalky to me. To me, James Cook was chalky for a flex every single week. Not quite sure he's up to that RB2 level yet. I want to see it first, but of course, going up against Vegas, high over under 47 points. Bills favored with 27.5 implied team total, which is a massive, massive favorite. Last week, 60% snap share. He had 6 targets, Brandon, to answer your previous question, 4 receptions. He was not as productive. He only had 63 yards, didn't get a touchdown. But let's just remember, like the Jets defense, that's a Super Bowl quality defense. So that was a tough matchup. The Vegas Raiders, they ain't that. And then listen, I like Nico Collins this week, man. CJ Stroud, if he doesn't play, I'm out. But Nico Collins going up against Indy last week, 72% snap share. He had 11 targets, which is 25%, and he led the team. And here's something that's going to be shocking. Okay, Houston is actually favored in this game. Now I'm assuming that's going to. Yeah, I know they're the favorites going into this game. Implied team total. Houston 20.25, the Indianapolis Colts, 19.25. So it's a coin toss, but Houston's still favored at home. That's probably the home.
Indy. I'm gonna bet Indy. I'm betting Indy this week.
That'd be a good money line bet.
Yeah,
for sure. So that's it, guys.
Yeah.
And Zay Jones, we already talked about. I like that player as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for the flex plays going into week 2. Make sure you monitor the injury report. Okay, there's a bunch of guys that are questionable for the games this week. Make sure you're nimble, Brandon.
One more. If Brandon Cook sits, Michael Gallup is in play.
Ooh, I like that. I like that play as well. Yeah, I mean, listen, like Gallup, they didn't need to throw to him last week.
Nope.
This week it's going to be, I think, a lot more competitive. The Giants, they weren't awake for that.
And
game.
Michael Carter, the defensive back for the Jets, is just dookie. So Michael Gallup is decent. I think he's going to be able to make some plays.
Love it. All right, boys. So for Brandon, for Mike, I'm Flex Shane. Of course, we hail from DFSARMY.com, DFSARMY.com. Go check out our other channel. Make sure you hit the like button so that you know when we go live. We're going to be here pretty much every mainly Saturday mornings, but there is the occasional time where it could be a Sunday morning. I'm not going to be here next week, boys. I'm going to be in Green Bay because guess what? I'm going to that Packers game. First time in Lambeau. I'm super excited for it. It's going to be a lot of fun. So I won't be here next week, but you boys will be holding down the fort. DFSARMY.com. Go crush some souls.